It's that time of the week again, and we are already in August. I don't know about you guys, but when I get to August, it's basically a very steep downhill ski to the end of the year, another year gone. Let's get into it. On Monday, I wore a couple of samples. So I started off with a sample that came with a bunch of stuff that was sent to me by Cherie at the top note. Thank you, Cherie. This one is called Sancti. I have a little bit of a travel spray left. Sancti is from Liquid Imaginaire, and it's basically a frankincense forward perfume, and I'll just spray a little bit on my arm just to kind of very bright frankincense and what I pick up as elemi, because I find that elemi, there is some really sort of strong citrus elements to these types of resins, and the opening is actually very, very good. Like in terms, if you're a fan of these kind of brighter, less smoky incense, little bit drier incense, Sancti's opening is very good. I find that it does stay a little bit linear, and then by the time it dries down, it kind of is just okay. I was initially excited by this perfume the first couple of times I wore it, but now having worn it about 4 or 5 times now, I still think it's these particular incense notes are really well done. It's definitely not a perfume, not an incense perfume that I need, but definitely worth checking out. Off the top of my head, I don't know what this brand retails for, but being a niche brand, I know that they're not as cheap as your average designer. But then there's not many designers that do incense this well. It's worth checking out if you like incense. But to me, it just kind of leaves me wanting a little bit more. In the afternoon, I tried, I once again wore a sample from the house of Maison Violet, where the perfumer, the main perfumer for this brand, I'm not sure if this is her brand, but it's Natalie Lawson. This one is Sketch, and based on a lot of reviews, this is one of their more popular ones. And it was the one that kind of, when I first did an impressions video on this brand, it was the one that stood out to me more. But I think it's because it uses notes and materials that are very sort of pleasing to a majority of noses, I guess. There's not much complex things going on here. I get a little bit of it's essentially to me a slightly spicy vanilla base. There's a little bit of fruitiness that could be coming from a variety of things, and I even get like a little touch of what seems to be iris, like an iris kind of note in here. I mean, it's perfectly pleasant, but again, like Sancti, that house Violet didn't excite me very much when I tried everything. Sketch is okay, but I'll finish that sample off and be done with it. Tuesday, I just went with a couple of reliable perfumes from my own wardrobe. that I have loved for a long time, been in my wardrobe for a long time. Firstly, the beautiful boozy amber that is Ombre Russe from Parfum d'Empire. And then the 80s classic from Caron. This is current version, or a late version of Le Troisième Homme, Third Man by Caron. This is... To me, it has got one of the best citrus openings, combined with clove, and then dries down into a great mossy base. And what's interesting to me is that it seems that people interpret this or pick up different things from this perfume, because people have said that this is a really good lavender perfume, and I'm sure there is lavender in here, but to me, it's so far in the background that I don't even, really register it as a lavender perfume. To me, it's a spicy, citrus, spicy, almost woody chypre perfume that just is as good, if not better, than a lot of... I mean, this came out in the mid-'80s, but... it's kind of like an evolved version of a lot of those spicy, mossy, classic masculines that from the 70s and early 80s that have now been discontinued. And if you own this, I don't feel like I'm missing out on any of those vintage discontinued masterpieces. On Wednesday, I went with another favourite Equipage Geranium from Hermes. Again, long-standing love affair with this perfume. And I wore the first of 4 Miscao perfumes in this last week. So it was a bright sunny day on Wednesday afternoon, and I went with Epis by Miscao. Beautiful, warm spices, almost edible spices, if you like. On Thursday, let's reach over. What should I start with? I decided to introduce a new sample into the rotation, and this house was introduced to me by Alex at the Perfume Temple. And when I got to Exence in March, they had a stand there. This is from Gravel. This is American Dream. The reason I wanted to try this initially was that I was having a conversation with Alex at one time on Instagram, just talking about modern day Dior Eau Sauvage, whether there's anything that is comparable to possibly older versions of it. And this was one of the perfumes that he mentioned. And I have to say, I haven't done a direct side-by-side comparison between this and my current bottle of Eau Sauvage, but I can understand why this would be a great alternative, because you get all that great citrus herbalness in the opening. To me, this doesn't register as too mossy when it dries down, although I need to give it a couple more wears just to sort of really familiarise myself with what I'm wearing. But I will say this seemed to have a lot better lasting power on my skin than the current Dior Eau Sauvage. So if you're someone who loves Eau Sauvage but is disappointed by its performance, whether you should be or not, I mean, that's your own personal thing. I definitely would say try American Dream by Gravel. Their bottles are a little bit gimmicky with the pieces with actual gravel in the bottle, little small pebbles in the bottom of the bottle. But, they're not the first brand to do stuff like that. So it's, now it's made me more interested in trying the other samples I got from this brand. And then in the afternoon, we had an unseasonably mild day for our winter on Thursday. So I went with something I haven't worn since summer. And that is one of my favorite fig perfumes. Also, a perfume that I am likely to be one of the only people who own that watch this channel. It's Guvano number 4 from Gocce de Byron. This is a perfume I picked up when I was in Vernazza in Italy in 2019. They only have a couple of stores in Cinque Terre mainly, and I don't know what their distribution is like within Italy or the rest of the world, but I can link to their website in the description. But it's fig sandalwood, but really good fig sandalwood. On Friday, again, it was unseasonably mild again. So we've had a couple of days where that, those days that always remind you that winter is coming to an end, and then you get disappointed because it gets really cold again. But I've been told, living in Australia, not to complain about the winter, especially from people who live in the Northern Hemisphere. So I won't. What did I wear? I wore Fui from Miskeo. This is the most recent release. Beautiful green, weedy perfume, which I absolutely love. And also one I haven't worn since our warmer seasons. This is Guerlain Homme, eau de parfum, mint, rum. It's supposed to be mojito. I'm not a big mojito drinker, so I really don't know how closely it resembles mojitos, but it is always a very pleasant, no-brainer kind of perfume to wear when you just want to smell nice, fresh, and not really be self-conscious about what you're wearing. Yesterday, I started the morning with Pistil by Miskeo again. So I told you I wore a lot of Miskeo, and I'm not done yet. Okay, so the interesting thing about this one is that I've been wearing it now for a year. And yesterday morning, when I sprayed it on, I suddenly smelled something new coming from it. And this, to me, most of the time has registered in my brain as like this kind of velvety floral perfume. Almost, it's hard to describe it. It almost wears on my skin with the texture of those velvety leafed flower plants, and they probably are just a fantasy. It's a fantasy bouquet, what I'm talking about. But all of a sudden, I got this kind of greenness come out, like really fresh, earthy stem from the plant that came out that I'd never noticed before. So it's really interesting to me that even after a year of wearing this, I'm still picking up new things from this, what I consider a very complex, dense perfume. Then in the evening, I sprayed on one of my, still probably my favorite discovery of 2023, not yet released or available for sale, but I'm told it's very, very soon, and that is Gilded by Bougie. Again, I'll link into the description. I've done a video on this brand, so keep an eye on them because Gilded is absolutely worth trying. This morning, it's Sunday, I sprayed on a Miskeo, but this one is actually a bespoke perfume that Marie from Miskeo made for me. It's called Ponte Vecchio. I really am still, as much as I love this perfume, really am stuck for words for how to describe it. So spraying that on now, I get this very bright, mineralic, citrusy, almost juicy, kind of neroli-like accord And what happens as it dries down on my skin, it turns from hard-edged notes, and they sort of start to blur and get softer. And the development here is not so much about smelling one thing at the beginning and something different by the end. The way this develops is in textures. So it sprays on sharp, defined edges, and by the end of the perfume, it is languid, fluid, billowing kind of smell. It's morphed into another sort of being, if you like. If you need to know something that resembles it, I think this could easily be like a flanker of something like Terre d'Hermès Parfum, the Pure Parfum, but there is a bit more going on. There's less. It's not as vetiver forward as Terre d'Hermès is, and a little bit. Instead of the sharper orange citrus, this is more orange blossom, if you like. So anyway, the point is, I love it. I wore it this morning. And my final scent for the week, for this first week of August 2023, is Annick Goutal's Sable, Immortelle reference. Okay, I don't want to talk anymore, so I'll just smell good for the rest of the night. I hope you're all smelling good. Thank you for watching again, and I'll see you with the next video. See you later.